Hi everyone, and welcome at another episode of Global AI Notes. Today we're going to talk about securing your AI environment. I'm looking really forward to that, so see you in a second. And as usual, I'm never alone. Today I have another visitor in our studio, and that's Sarah Young. Hi Sarah,
Hey, hello.
how are you
How are you
doing
doing?
today?
I'm good. I'm good. I've actually had to, it's 5 p.m. here in Australia, and I've had to like put my blind down because it's so sunny, which is good
Oh,
because
okay.
it's going into the summer.
It's longer days coming up.
hmm
Where in Australia are you located?
I am based in Melbourne. So actually one of the slightly less sunny bits of Australia, if anyone's been there. But it is still pretty nice when it gets to the summer at least.
Okay, that's cool. Sarah, for the ones who do not know you, please give a small introduction about yourself.
Okay, sure. So I am a cloud security advocate at Microsoft. As we've already said, I live in Australia, and I've been working in security for a long time now. Definitely since before it became cool, because now it's cool. Didn't used to be. I talk to lots of people. I go around the world. I have a really cool job. I get to go around the world talking about security, how we do it better, but not just to security people, because it's easy to talk to other security people, but I also like to go and talk to developers and other parts of IT and explain to them why security is important, because everyone has to do it really nowadays, to a certain extent anyway.
Where are the days security was the last thing that happened in its project?
Sometimes it still is,
Sometimes it
sadly.
still happens, but yeah. But you wanted to talk a little bit more about securing your AI environment. How
Yes.
do people handle that?
Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen. And so I have a couple of slides, not tons, but there's been a lot of talk about AI recently. We can't get away from that. And it's been the same in security spaces as well. So there's two bits to this, and this is so rapidly evolving. I can only give this to you as a point in time thing, but there's two bits to AI security. We've got the security of AI, so that is where we actually, when people are building AI enabled applications or anything that's AI enabled, how do we secure them? And then you've got using AI for security. So, how we can actually use AI models to make security better. So they're kind of the two bits. But what I wanted to talk about today, because we could be here for a very long time with either one of these things, was talking about the security of AI and what people should be thinking about when they're building on top of AI. Because as you know, as you just said, security often used to be an afterthought. And with security of AI, I think that we have an opportunity to change that narrative and have everybody thinking about security from the word go. So yeah, that's what's really important, and that's what I was going to talk to you a little bit about today.
Okay. So what do you like the most talking about? Security of AI or AI for security?
Security of AI, because I
Okay.
think that's the one. AI for security is a very using AI models in security tooling is a very security professional focused conversation, and there's
Mhm.
no doubt there is a lot of possibility. There's a lot of potential for what we can do there, but for everybody else in IT who is looking to build and utilize AI, the security of AI, how we actually secure all these new things that we're building with AI, I think that one's more relevant. So that's what I was going to talk about with you
Okay.
today.
All right. So are we then talking about like putting or so let's say the cognitive services and VNets and so on, or are we even talking about totally different things?
Well, we do have the architecture side of things, but to start with, now I'm not. This is very quickly, real quick. these are all your Microsoft things that use AI. And if if anyone's interested, basically everything. But what I wanted, basically everything's going to use some AI. But this is what I wanted to talk about. I'm going to take it even higher level than talking about VNets and things like that. This is sort of your typical high level AI architecture. So from a security perspective, so I'll just explain what is on the screen here. So we split the layers from a security perspective into 3 bits. We have the platform layer, which is the underneath. So that might be, say, the Azure OpenAI service or something similar. So the platform layer. Now, most people are not going to run their own AI platform because it's very complicated. It requires a lot of compute. It costs a lot of money. Most people will be using somebody else's, a cloud provider's AI platform. And then so that's where your core models sit. Then we have the application layer now, or what we're calling AI application. So this is where you start to integrate into the AI platform. And this is where, if you were building an AI enabled application, you would start to integrate into, I'm going to just use OpenAI. I know that probably when I talk, but as I said, it can be any platform. And this is where they're going to integrate into that platform. Now, this is where we start to see, now on the AI platform layer, there are security concerns, but that will generally be taken care of by your cloud provider, so Microsoft or whoever. Now, and so you, as a consumer, you don't have to worry about that bit so much. Again, there is lots of stuff that we do in that space that Microsoft does. We have a ton of security controls, but as an end user, that's the kind of stuff you don't need to worry about as much. Although we do say in security, you should trust but verify. And this is for any cloud security, any cloud service that you use, you should be trusting that we're doing the right thing, but also verifying that using all the reports that we have. But at this application layer, this is where things start to divulge, can start to go in lots of different ways. Because essentially, I know some people are saying that AI stuff is very, very different, and in some ways it is, but in security terms, it's actually very similar. Because when you build an application on any kind of service, we say, you must use secure coding. You must integrate into the platform underneath in a secure way. You shouldn't be sending things in clear text. You shouldn't be using old, antiquated algorithms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And guess what? For AI, it's exactly the same. There isn't any, at least to date, there is not any magic new tool that is going to secure your AI. So, we're still leaning back on secure coding, good secure coding practices, integrating in secure methods into the platform underneath, and your supply chain security. So not pulling random libraries that you don't know where they came from and what they have in them from places. And I think this is a really important message that we need to get across, is that in terms of security right now, that's where we still need to focus. The other reason we need to focus, and I actually went to a talk at the weekend by a lady who runs Google's zero-day unit, and she said exactly the same thing. We've always got to remember that although there's been a lot of talk about different AI security attacks. Can we poison the model? Can we use it to guess the data it's been trained on, etc. But attackers aren't generally they're not super proud of their craft. So they're not like, oh, I must do this very, very complicated thing to show how good I am. They will do the easiest, the quickest, and the cheapest thing. So they will lean back on not integrating things properly in secure libraries, in secure coding practices, because they are easier for them to find and exploit, which is why it's so important that we do them. And then, because I'll stop and take a breath and you can ask me a question. At that process, we call it AI process. I don't love this name because it can be a little bit confusing, but that process layer is the interaction layer with the AI model, the AI application. So that's where you ask, that's where people ask things and when they receive things out as well. So that's kind of how we split it up in very simple terms in security land at the moment.
Okay. So when on the AI platform, it's all done for us, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you want to integrate we want to make use of these services and our applications, then we need to do something. We need to write good code. Like,
Mhm.
are we talking here, for example, authentication with system identities and so on, or what specifically are we talking about?
Yeah, it's nothing new. This is what's when I first started teaching myself AI about and researching it myself about 6 months ago, I was also really surprised. I thought there would be something new, but no, it's things, as you said, it's like using managed identities, using a single identity store, limiting the amount of permissions an identity has to only exactly what it needs. At that process layer where people interact with the application, people shouldn't be able to interact with the application unless they need to. The principle of least privilege, which has been around forever. So it's nothing. All those things you've just thrown out there, all totally valid. Now, if I'll move to my next slide. If my machine is going to let me, my computer is a little bit angry today. So you can see here, this is kind of where your general controls sit. And this is just very rough and high level again. So as I was talking about before, that software supply chain security, knowing where your supply chain comes from, that's something you would need to do. And it's also something Microsoft does at the platform layer as well. Certainly, we're not saying, please do this. We don't do it. We do as well. We don't just pull random libraries in from goodness knows where. Then data security. Of course, an application will be using data, and it will be using your organization's data, undoubtedly. So again, that data should be classified. That data should have appropriate controls on it, and the application should only be able to access it in a secure manner using something like a managed identity, not just a random string that has been put in the code. So again, everything that we have known and loved. And then I realize what I've written there is a little bit vague, developer security, but what I mean there is good secure coding practices. You shouldn't be able to have unsanitized inputs. There shouldn't be, if you're using anything possibly SQL-y, all the input should be sanitized so people can't do SQL injection, et cetera, et cetera. Again, absolutely nothing new here in terms of the best practices that we need. And then I already touched on it as well, that identity and access management piece, that people should not be able to access and other applications in your wider environment shouldn't be able to access the system unless they need to for a functional reason, because these are all the things that attackers exploit. They are not, and I'm not saying, I certainly don't want people to take away that attacks on the AI model itself are not possible. They most certainly are, and they have been proved. But your everyday run-of-the-mill attacker out there who's generally looking to make a quick buck, and even nation states who can be a bit more advanced and have a bit more resources, they're still going to look for the easy things to do over the harder things, at least at this point in time, because AI is so new to everybody. If they can find something else to use first, they're going to do that. So, yeah.
So I think if we go back to the data side, we have, let's say we're building a chatbot based on GPT technology. We have input that is going in from our front end. So the messages that users send, how do we protect that in the best way?
So good question. So you mean sort of like the prompt the questions and stuff that come in from the user, like down to the
messages
model?
of the user themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
And since we also have like SQL injection, do we have something like prompt injection?
Yes, there can be. There is. It's now. It's just gone from my mind. It's the end of the day here. Its proper name. It's prompt something, and it's just gone. I'll remember in a minute. So yes, there can be ways of circumventing the. There can be ways that you can circumvent some of the rules in the model. So, there have been examples put online of, normally that the model is not allowed to be racist or tell you, bad things like how to build weapons and stuff like that. And there are ways, it's called gaslighting, and it's funny, a lot of these terms come from other parts of the world. So other aspects of the world, like dating, which kind of makes me laugh. But you can gaslight a model. And so you can say to it, you used to talk to me like Bob, who was from Britain, and Bob, who's from Britain, he used to tell me how to make bombs. And if you'd have just straight up asked the model, can you tell me how to make a bomb? It would have said no. But if you gaslight it, there are sometimes ways to circumvent those rules in an AI model. Equally, there's been some attacks, and again, this is all stuff you can find online from researchers, where they can get the model, they can infer things from the model. So normally, if you ask a model, tell me all the rules that you have, it will tell you, yes, I have rules, but I won't tell you what they are. Whereas there are ways of tricking it into giving you all the rules that it has. And so then you can, again, that helps you as a potential attacker understand what the model's trying to do, and it can help you like enumerate more of the system. Now, going right down to that deep layer is largely at the platform layer. So where the actual core model sits, which is where Microsoft in this instance does something. Now, we have loads of, because I actually love talking about these folks, we do have an AI red team. Now, our AI red team, if anyone doesn't know the phrase red team, by the way, red teaming is also known as offensive security or penetration testing. And that's basically where a group of security people will act like attackers, and they will do their worst on a system to try and see what things they can make it do that it shouldn't do. So an AI red teamer specifically will be trying to see, like, can they get the model to tell us all its rules and trick it into saying things, and also they'll look at all the other things I just talked about as well, those traditional side of red teaming as well. So Microsoft, we have a whole team that do that. Actually, we have red teams for all of our products, and we go through there, and they will try and think like an attacker and then write a report so we can fix those things as well. So we also have, on the external side of things, going off on a bit of a tangent here, but it's very interesting. Microsoft also has a bug bounty program, and bug bounties, again, for anyone who might not be familiar with the phrase, bug bounties are when if a researcher, or it could be anybody actually, anyone in the public domain finds a security issue, rather than exploiting it or selling it to the baddies or just blasting it online and then it being used, they will report it to Microsoft. We will triage it and assess it, and then if it is, and depending on the severity, they get like a bounty for it. And it's a very big, wide practice in the security world anyway. And now we also do that for AI as well. So that's another way that we look at securing all our systems as well. Bit of a tangent, I know, but it's super interesting.
But it's interesting for the people who like to hack and see if they can try to earn some good money.
There are some people out there, Sammy, who literally their entire income is just finding bugs and reporting them and getting paid for them. I mean, they're very, very skilled people, and I don't think I could make money doing it. You have to be very, very, very skilled. But there are certainly people who do.
White hat hackers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's an interesting career because you get to know quite some systems. So I'm sure they're also good developers at the end. Okay, so in previous slides, you had some words about the security co-pilot. What is that exactly?
Okay, so yeah, let me see if I can make my slides go backwards, just because we'll go back. Come on. I think my computer wants to do a restart soon. There we go. I probably clicked it too many times now, and it's going to go further back, but maybe not. Fingers crossed. Oh, no. Tell you what, let me stop for a second. I'm going to stop sharing, and I will just sort that slide out rather than we watch it mess around with my deck. My computer is a little bit grumpy with me today, I believe. But yes, so the other side of security, which I alluded to before, is that we have we put AI into security, because one of the problems we have, one of the many problems we have in security, as many organizations do is that we don't have enough security people. There's not enough security people in the world. It doesn't matter if you're here in Australia, in Europe, the US. We don't have enough security people, and things get missed, particularly in operational security, because the research shows that only like 60% of alerts will get picked up and they'll do something with them. And that's just often, sometimes there are other reasons as well, but one of the reasons is due to just not having enough people to be able to look at everything, because there is a shortage of skilled professionals. Now, I think I've got my slide working again. So one of the things that I think in security, although we definitely have to be worried about security of AI, and we'll certainly need to be working on that as an industry, the potential for AI is also amazing too. It's because AI will help us. I think at the moment AI is great for getting rid of repetitive tasks that you don't really want to do. And unfortunately in security, there's actually a lot of those. And if you do them manually, it takes up people's time. So for example, if you get a lot of alerts in, usually you can't, if you get a million alerts in a day as a company, you can't have someone manually check a million alerts. You can't even have a team of people. And so using something like AI and machine learning that's smarter to, when the alert comes up, give it a little bit more of a triage and say, hey, actually, do we think this is a real thing or is it a false positive? And then it filters out a lot of the rubbish. It leaves a security operations analyst with like much less to look at, and then they can focus on something that actually might be a problem that needs a real human to look at it. And I think that use of AI, at least in the short term, is where we're going to see the most value for people in security tooling, because it will take away the drudgery and the monotony. So another one is Purview. It is on my list. Purview is our data security platform and solution. And Purview, one of the first things you do when you do data security, in fact, it is the first thing you must do, is you must classify your data. So, and by classify, I mean you give it a label like general, confidential, highly confidential, etc. Now, in a typical organization, though, can you imagine if your security team said to you, you need to go and manually classify every single one of your documents? You need to open it up, you need to look at it, you need to see what's inside it, and then you have to give it a classification based on this criteria. Like, no one's going to do it. It's not realistic. It's not realistic at all. And one of the things we can do with AI is we can give the AI some rules and some parameters saying, if you see a block of, a string of data that looks like this, say a credit card or something like that, classify that as highly confidential. Or if you see someone's passport number or date of birth, that's PII. So classify that as highly confidential. And then when everything's got a label, we can then apply controls to it. So, for example, highly confidential stuff, you can't email it, you can't print it. I mean, again, what rules you put in depends on the business and stuff, but there's all kinds of things you can do. And so that's where AI will really nicely augment, I can't talk this evening, augment our security operations. And because some of this stuff just wasn't possible in Defender for Cloud. Defender for Cloud looks across like all your IaaS and PaaS services, and it will continually assess them and say, hey, did you know that you've got an account with no MFA? Or did you know this VM is exposed to the internet? And things like that. And it does it automatically because it's got rules, and because no one is going to manually do this sort of stuff. And so AI can help us try and plug these security holes that we just don't have enough hours in the day to do. And the best bit is it leaves the real humans, because I'm not worried about AI taking over my job, because we don't have enough security people anyway, and there will always be bits of security that need to be looked at by a real human. So what AI will do, in my belief, is that AI will stop, hopefully, will help get rid of the drudgery and the monotony and the repetitive tasks, and actually free up security people to look at the interesting stuff that needs a real human on it.
Okay. Now, let's say I am a data scientist or a software developer. Where should I start looking at to learn more about this?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Now, in terms of your secure development on top of AI, there's a lot of stuff coming. There are some great resources out there already. One of my colleagues, Rod, he's started creating a series called Must Learn AI Security. If you just search Must Learn AI Security, it will come up. Microsoft has released some risk management frameworks, and you'll be seeing more guidance coming from Microsoft in the near future. But for any dev out there, I would honestly go and refresh your knowledge on secure coding practices. Like anything, like honestly, it's not new. That is probably the best thing you could do right now, because and if you haven't been, and just keep security at the forefront of your mind. I know it's difficult, and I know that many developers and builders out there have had negative experiences with security in the past, because they have been to security and said, can I do this? And security has just gone, no, you can't do that. And have made you do something very complicated. And what I would say is that with this AI revolution, I hate the cheesy words, but with this AI revolution that's taking place, it's definitely a good idea to like just change what we've done. So what we've done in the past, because as you said, Sammy, at the beginning, often security was an afterthought. It certainly was a long time ago. Like security would come in at the end and everyone would be like, oh, it's security. Oh, they're going to stop us doing the thing. I think we're getting better with shifting left and DevOps, etc. But we're still not perfect. But now AI is like giving us like another big shift in the way we work. I'm trying that we can all start having security at the forefront of our minds from the word go. And it's not that I'm saying devs have to ultimately take all this responsibility for security, because that's what security people are there for. But, it's really good to start, being more mindful of it, because we know that these things get breached. We say now, assume breach, assume you are going to be breached. But how can you put in lots of layers of controls that if you're breached, it doesn't make a big problem? Because just because you have an initial breach doesn't necessarily mean it turns into some horrible security mess. So, if you have well-designed security controls, just one of them failing doesn't mean it makes a massive mess. So say your desktop or your laptop that you're using, you click on a dodgy link by accident, because we're all human, and you download malware and the attacker gets into your machine. But if you've got well-designed security controls, they won't necessarily be able to get any further, and it will get caught quickly, and we'll quarantine them and we'll clear it away and it's gone. That's the kind of stuff that is realistically what we are aiming for. I mean, if we can keep them out entirely, great, but to be more realistic and pragmatic, making sure we've got all those layers. So from a dev point of view, that you can say, it doesn't matter if we talk to that storage account in Telnet. Who cares? It's internal, blah, blah, blah. I mean, please don't use Telnet, please. But you know what I mean. But the thing is, if someone, that could be another layer that falls down. And when you get multiple layers that fall down, that's what turns into a big breach. One of the analogies I like to use, I spend a lot of time on planes, but if we look at the airline industry and the aviation industry, so when you get a horrible plane crash, if you look at the details of this, I have a talk on this. If you look at the details of any of the big major plane accidents that have happened, it's not just one thing that's gone wrong. It's multiple things. It could be, the engine fell off. I know I'm being dramatic. Like the engine fell off, but then it's that the pilot didn't know how to deal with that, or they couldn't find a place to land. And there's like multiple layers of things that go wrong before there's a horrible plane crash. If one of those things goes wrong, usually plane lands, they fix the plane, no issue. And it's interesting how I think there's a bit more focus put on these things when it's, say, a plane, because of course people die or people can die. Whereas in security, well, actually, I lied. It is potentially, if you're looking at hospitals or something like that, I mean, people could die, but generally people don't die. It's like stealing of data and it can ruin people's lives in other ways. But principally what we're trying to do is exactly the same. So I think it's a really good way of thinking about it as well, is like, look at the airline industry, because say there's a horrible plane crash and they identify some things to improve it, so it wouldn't happen again. No one's going to turn around and say, oh, we can't be bothered to do that. Like, well, we'll just let people die again. Whereas in IT, sometimes that is what happens. So I think like sort of drawing these analogies is really important to sort of get people thinking about it a bit more. So that again, a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's a really it's a good one to consider.
So we could actually end this with saying, make sure your application can still land after one small hack.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That is exactly what you want to happen.
All right. Sarah, thank you very much for this interesting conversation, to learn more about what we need to look into where developing AI applications, and of course, how AI can be used also to secure your environment. So we're looking forward to learn more about that. I don't know if we can find stuff on Microsoft Learn about this.
We have a little bit. Like I said, it's happening all so quickly that there's not heaps and heaps yet. Rod's Must Learn AI Security, which I saw you put a link to, is probably
Yeah, let me put
one of
it
the best
back on the
places to
screen.
start at the moment. But keep an eye out. There's a ton of stuff on its way. There's also there is also a book called Not With a Bug, But With a Sticker. You can buy it on most places now. It's written by a Microsoft chap called Ram, and his researcher colleague. And it's not officially Microsoft, but if you find AI security interesting, it's a short read. It's really accessible. It only took me a couple of days to read. I've probably got it in my bookcase. Oh, even easier than you having to find it, Ram, Sammy. There you go. Look, I got it on my bookcase. Don't mind my really bright pants. There you go. I'm not on commission, by the way. Ram, you can pay me commission if you
That's
see
a
this.
mirror for me, so not with a bug, but with...
Is it the wrong way round?
Yeah, it's mirror.
Oh, damn. Yeah, well, look, you can all like read it the wrong way around anyway.
Exactly.
It's a really cool book. It's very interesting. It talks at a very, very, very accessible level about how AI security has developed over the past couple of years. And if you find this stuff interesting, I would definitely give it a read because it's good.
Okay,
But
let me put the
keep
link
an eye
of
out.
that book also on the screen.
Yeah.
I got a
Also,
link here.
yeah. Oh, you managed to find it backwards. Good work. But honestly, just keep an eye out. Keep an eye out on all your usual Microsoft channels. There's plenty upcoming on this as well. But as I said, the best thing you can do at the moment is just develop securely. Like all the things we've been telling you to do for years, keep doing that and do that properly. And that's going to get you a million miles ahead of everybody else.
All right. Good ending. Thank you very much, Sarah. With that, we're going to end our latest episode of the Global AI Notes. Don't forget to, if you're not yet register as part of a community member on globalai.community, so we're always updated with the latest events, and we can also share some new AI news with you in our weekly newsletter. So looking forward to see you all next week, and for now, I wish you still a very nice day. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.